Welcome back to America Decides. As we mentioned at the top of the show, a bus tour promoting Kamala Harris's support for reproductive rights is now underway after kicking off in Palm Beach, Florida. Molly Ball and Sabrina Rodriguez are here to talk about all this. Molly is a senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal. Sabrina is a national politics reporter for the Washington Post. Molly, let me start with you. I asked Aaron Navarro about this. Starting this particular tour in Florida, there's a ballot initiative there, and there's this running debate within the Democratic Party and the Harris campaign. How real are the prospects in Florida? What's your sense?
We'll know that they're really competing in Florida when they start dropping tens of millions of dollars there, and that's what hasn't happened yet. However, there is an outside chance that Florida does come on the map for exactly the reasons that you just articulated, and abortion in particular is the issue that, if anything is going to put Democrats back on the map in Florida, that's going to be what it is, not only because there is this ballot initiative, which is polling quite well right now. It does need to get 60% in order to pass, but it would restore reproductive rights. Florida currently has the 6-week ban that Governor Ron DeSantis signed.
Which even former President Trump says is too much.
Which even President Trump says is too much. And Florida is the most pro-choice red state. Of the states that have reliably gone for Republicans in the last few cycles, Florida is the most socially liberal, and so that's why this looks like an issue to many Democrats that could actually put the state in play, even though it has trended Republican for the last several cycles.
And Sabrina, I think it's worth saying in 2022, Democrats in Florida were demoralized. They did not have a standard bearer. The state party was not well either funded or organized. Things feel a bit different. That doesn't mean it's determinative, that it's going to be on the map in a way that's super competitive, but it does feel like Florida Democrats feel more energized and focused this time around than in the most previous cycle.
Absolutely. And I mean, something that Democrats in Florida are saying, those who are working on the ground, is that they understand that this might not be something that, oh, they win in 2024 and suddenly everything has shifted and it's suddenly a big swing state. But if they can even show that they have made some types of gains, because in 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election by double digits. We're not talking about a few thousand votes in the tight races that we know Florida for. It was a decisive win. So a lot of Democrats are saying, you know, they're kind of projecting that big confidence, oh, Florida is in play. But the quiet part they're saying is, even if we don't win, if there is some type of momentum, things like this reproductive rights tour, if there are people coming to Florida, if there is even some money that gets spent, it could just help towards them showing that, okay, all hope is not lost.
And Molly, you know, every national campaign is a battle over finite resources. And if there is something that is percolating in Florida that attracts the Trump campaign, that's resources that they might have to devote there that they cannot put in Pennsylvania or North Carolina or Arizona or Georgia. Same thing for the Harris campaign. It just seems to me right now the Harris campaign feels a little bit more like it's looking around the map and has a little bit more wherewithal to spread around in case things get close.
Well, it helps when you raise $500 million in a matter of weeks, right? They're not going to have unlimited resources, but they're going to have a lot more resources than the Biden campaign did. And
the Trump campaign currently has.
And the Trump campaign currently has. And so this is the point of the campaign where they start playing chess with the map and they start doing these kinds of head fakes to try to draw the other campaign in for exactly the reason that Sabrina is just saying, to try and get the other side to spend money defensively, similar to, you know, there's a Senate race in Maryland. It's a long shot for Republicans, but if they can get the Democrats to spend money there in what's a very blue state, it's exactly the same calculation that you're talking about.
And Sabrina, I found it interesting today that the Harris campaign announced that it was going to hand off $25 million to down-ballot Democratic committees, Senatorial Committee, House Committee, even Attorney General's election committees. What does that tell you?
Well, it shows us how much things have shifted from when this was the Biden campaign that was at the top of the ticket. I mean, the conversation just 2 months ago was about, oh, reverse coattails, was about, oh, how could down-ballot candidates be helping Biden win re-election? And now it's a conversation of, oh, no, like, Harris at the top of the ticket can help bring attention to some races across the country. And I think it's important to note that it's not just in the traditional battleground states, but them sort of branching out and saying, oh, there's competitive races across the country in states that might not be a battleground state, might not be a state that Harris is going to win, but they still can help push some people over in those down ballot races.
And yet, Molly, I find it interesting, the messaging from the Harris campaign is we're still the underdog. Even Jen O'Malley Dillon was, I think, quoted in kind of a slightly maybe clumsy, unintentional way last week, we don't see a path to victory. Clearly they do. They have to see some path to victory. But this idea that don't take anything for granted and we are still behind, even though the national polling indicates a rebound for the prospects of Democrats at the top and down ballot.
I mean, this is a campaign where I think you can't really say anyone is in the driver's seat just because it is so close. But this is also clearly a messaging exercise, right? They are not behind at this moment in either the national or the swing state polling, so they can't be considered underdogs in that technical sense, but they really, really do not want their supporters to get complacent. And this was a constant refrain at the Democratic convention as well, right? Speaker after speaker saying you cannot take anything for granted. You've got to work as hard as you can right through Election Day, mobilize your friends and supporters. And this is also, I think, to the point of this conversation, the theme of this conversation is how is this campaign different than the Democratic campaign that Joe Biden was running? That campaign did not have a surfeit of money. It did not have a surfeit of enthusiasm. This is a campaign that has so much enthusiasm that they're trying to direct it. They're trying to say, if you are this enthusiastic, make sure you are working as hard as you can, not just skipping around talking about joy.
Sabrina, the next tentpole event in this very truncated campaign is the debate. How is the Harris campaign preparing for that and the Trump campaign? What do you think the stakes are?
I mean, the stakes are high, and I think prior to the June debate, there was a conversation about the importance of debates and the significance of debates, and we were sort of questioning, okay, how much do they really matter? I think the June debate showed us they really do matter, and they really can have an impact. So I think this is really going to be an opportunity for Harris to show herself as a leader. I think she had to check that box doing the interview with CNN last week and showing that she could talk about the issues, talk about how she's changed. But there is a question of her showing her leadership, her showing how she can face off with Donald Trump. And we're going to get to see that firsthand. And then on the Trump side, I mean, we've seen him sort of flake and go back and forth about if he was going to debate to begin with. And that's part of him adjusting to having to run against Kamala Harris, who is a very different candidate than Joe Biden. So I think part of what we're going to see next week is just how does he maneuver around her? Is he able to contain himself when we know that he, wants to speak up or speak over her, and just sort of how does it look? Because this is really a debate that's going to matter for those people in the middle, those people who are undecided or who are deciding if they're even going to vote at all. And that's really, we know bases are very energized, and now, Democrats have made up for it with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. But there is still that sliver of Americans who don't know what they're going to do come November, and that debate is a moment for them to decide.